Elden Ring feels like a recapitulation of the lineage that began with Demon Souls over a decade ago. A greatest hits of every game from Hidetaka Miyazaki since then, stitched together into one triumphant experience, placing it in an absolutely staggering sandbox. The aesthetic of Demon Souls, the core gameplay of Dark Souls, the unique weapon mechanics of Bloodborne, and the stealth and scope of Sekiro. When all these elements work at their best in Elden Ring, it is a thing of majesty. But this formula also pushes the well-trod design to its absolute limits, exacerbating the most frustrating aspects of all of these games. It might be for the best then that Elden Ring definitely feels like From Software closing the door on an absolutely tremendous string of games, sending them out on a high and hopefully looking toward a radically different future. Let's just get one thing out of the way. If you're looking to play Elden Ring simply because of the involvement of George R.R. Martin, you should find another reason. Far as I can tell, his involvement may as well have been made up, simply to attach his name to the project. This is the most Miyazaki-ass tale ever spun, told through brief moments of dialogue scattered throughout the world, along with item descriptions and visual storytelling, forcing the player to piece together what they think is happening. The basic premise is that you play as a Tarnished, one of a group of outcasts that are looking to reunite the pieces of the Elden Ring, which are currently in the possession of warring demigods, whose endless confrontation has corrupted the lands between. There's a whole lot more to the lore and the story, and to piece it all together, you're probably going to have to pore over a few hours of YouTube videos, so it's par for the course for pretty much any other From Software game. If that's your bag, great, but it's personally never the reason why I've enjoyed these titles. What I do enjoy of the world of a Miyazaki game is its design, and this is where Elden Ring truly shines. A return to the series' roots, Elden Ring takes the high fantasy of Demon Souls and greatly elevates it with its open world. From Software games have always used scope and scale to great effect in the past, but Elden Ring truly stuns with its magnitude. That feeling of turning a corner and running into something unexpected happens all the time, leaving me openly astounded on numerous occasions. The daunting expanse of Elden Ring's environments plays to From Software's best qualities, allowing the developer to fill every possible corner with delightful elements, whether that be a unique NPC or a hidden dungeon. While the game's waypoints offer guiding lights, pointing you toward the area's main objective, it's incredibly easy to get sidetracked, wanting to move toward an object of interest rather than a marker on the game map. I haven't felt this sense of natural discovery since playing Breath of the Wild. There are points where the game shifts to a more linear structure, but I use the word linear loosely. Areas like Stormvale Castle, which harken to a more traditional Souls design of maps with defined spaces, have a dizzying number of options and routes within them, unlike anything from other From Software games I've experienced. To assist with exploration, Elden Ring features a jumping mechanic, which opens the floodgates to the number of ways that players can make their way through an area. I've lost count the number of times I've verbally exclaimed when one route connected with another, or when I discovered where a shortcut had taken me. While this has happened in previous Souls titles, Elden Ring cranks it all up to 11. Anyone familiar with how a Souls title plays will immediately know what to expect from Elden Ring. That being said, there are numerous ways in which the game aids its player, fast traveling between waypoints, summoning spectral allies, creating opportunities where enemies can be tricked into attacking one another. Combined with the simple fact that Elden Ring's open world allows you to sneak around and even retreat and reassess a battle, makes this From Software's most accessible game by far. That being said, it's still difficult. Really difficult. Especially the bosses, some of the most challenging that Miyazaki has ever cooked up. They almost feel like they were designed to match the new assists that players can implement, so those players who are looking for an even greater challenge, that want to handicap themselves by not utilizing things like summons, are in for a truly brutal experience. This, however, is where Elden Ring's biggest flaws come into play, and they're the same issues plaguing previous From Software titles. The camera, for one, is especially bad, and was the source of my downfall on more than one occasion. I was hoping this game would be able to address this issue, but it not only doesn't, it feels actively worse in this game thanks to its increased scope. As such, while being able to ride a steed to traverse the world is fantastic, mounted combat is a mess, and I found myself getting down to face enemies on foot even if my enemy was mounted. Managing inventory and switching between items on the fly is just as frustrating as it's always been, but now with the additional tools the game offers you to aid in battle, the amount of things to juggle reaches comical levels. For big battles, you're really going to want to get in with a locked down strategy on what actions to do when, but it's easy in the heat of the moment for the game's controls to get in the way. From Software has always suffered from its own mechanics stepping on the toes of its excellent level design, and it's at its worst in Elden Ring. What Elden Ring does better than any other Souls game is fidelity. It is easily the best looking From Software title, although not quite as good as Bluepoint's Demon Souls remake, I might add. While I did have some pop-in issues here and there, overall Elden Ring feels like a tapestry come to life, and there are tons of visuals that beg to have you pause the action and breathe it all in. The game is dripping with an unprecedented level of contrast and color for the series that makes it satisfyingly stand out from its predecessors. Other Souls games have pockets of tranquility, and thanks to Elden Ring's open world, those pockets of tranquility are much larger and occur far more frequently. Playing on Xbox Series X, I did run into a few technical issues from time to time, but overall the build is really solid. There are two visual modes, one prioritizing quality, the other performance, although it's not as stark of a contrast as I expected. The quality mode only looks marginally better than performance, and performance seemingly only squeezes out a few more frames than quality. While I haven't touched the game on PC, I've heard from a few people playing that your experience can dramatically differ depending on your rig, so I would go check out some PC reviews if you're planning on playing there. Elden Ring is the experience every fan has been waiting for, a nearly limitless sandbox that can be returned to time and time again. It truly feels like a game that people will never run out of things to do in, with the Souls formula and the open world going together like peanut butter and jelly. But it also leaves very little wiggle room for From Software to take that formula next. I hope that Elden Ring is truly the grand finale it acts like it is for this decade of the developer's history, and that whatever the studio decides to do next is a radical and fresh reinvention.